Hello everyone, thanks for joining the tour today, and we're going to be taking a look at the newly renovated bungalows, or otherwise now known as the cottages, which we've gone through about half of them so far, and we're looking at cottages number 4 and 8 at this time. And this is just a view of the balcony. We changed the entrance from being in the middle, and so if you are familiar with the property, there used to be an entrance for 2 rooms in one of these bungalow housing structures, and now each room has their own entrance to the side and a little bit more privacy as well, because we split the balcony, so you don't necessarily have to talk to the neighbor if you don't want to, but you can of course go around if you would like. And moving into the room itself, these are brand new beds and frames and new design with the throw pillows and the standard pillows in the back there. And then you can also see the kitchenette unit that we renovated, and we'll get to in a second. Also, we added a working desk with a charging station, so you have USB and also Type-C there as well, right below the television. And that's for anybody who wants to get some work done, especially those work from home people. And this is a wider view of the room, and I just want to make note of the AC, because these used to be fan cooled rooms, and now we got rid of the louver windows, and so now it's completely sealed up, if you will, with, as far as the windows go, brand new windows. And also want to bring attention to the ceilings. So the ceilings used to be flat, and now we brought them up to an apex to give a little bit more room and make it feel a little bit more spacious, but still maintain the coziness. And also bringing some more attention to the far right corner of the kitchenette that we have, and we'll get to that in a second, and also the newly renovated bathroom. So we basically gutted this entire place. Even the floor tiles are brand new as well. And this is another angle of the bed, and just want to bring some attention to the LED bed frame, as well as the embedded nightstands and lamps, and another view of the kitchenette, I should say. And as you can see, it has basically all the utensils and tools that you might need to cook a meal. Included is a mini fridge there down on the left, and a hot plate, coffee maker, ice bucket, all the knives and utensils that you may need to feed a small family. Not necessarily Thanksgiving dinner, but you can definitely chef it up in there, especially if you're staying for an extended period of time. This might be a perfect type of accommodation for you. And that essentially is the kitchen. And now moving on to the bathroom. And as I mentioned before, like floor to ceiling, new floor tiles, new ceiling tiles. Got the LED frame around the mirror just to give a little bit more lights. We changed out the square louver windows for the ship window, I guess you can call it. And we got the rainfall shower head and the glass frame shower door. Even the towel holders, those are all new. And again, trying to bring together everything in the room, the kitchenette, and to complete the cottage experience, if you will. So very happy and proud of how this was done, and really wanted to give a modern look and feel to this new room category, the cottage. And so also with this wide angle, want to bring attention to the closet. So you got some drawer space there, and you got some hanging space as well, and your safe, of course, and the ironing board is on the other side in between the closet and the window there. And yeah, another angle of the room, and also want to bring attention to that long standing mirror there, so full frame mirror. And that essentially is the bungalow, and this is kind of our way of paying homage to my dad and where he started from with this hotel, Travelers Beach Resort. Started right with one bungalow and grew to... Hey there, Drop here. I wanted to interrupt just for a minute to tell you about my family's hotel, Travelers Beach Resort. We are a 60-room Jamaican-owned and operated hotel located on the world-famous 7-mile white sand beach of Negril, Jamaica. My father started this property back in '94, and myself and my brothers Winfield and Wingate took over in 2011 after my father retired. Recently, we've made some upgrades to the property, particularly to our rooms. They've been redesigned and reimagined with comfort and style at the forefront. The textures, the light, the layout, each space was designed with intention, balancing modern touches with the familiar spirit of travelers. Our deluxe rooms and suites, which you are seeing on your screen now, have gone through an incredible transformation. We now have 2-bedroom suites available for your accommodations next time you're in Negril. We're especially proud of our gym. It's designed to give you a high-quality workout experience with premium equipment, plenty of space, and an energizing atmosphere. Our lounge has become one of the more popular public spaces, perfect for a family game night or catching the big game. Of course, our restaurant and bar is located right on the beach, so you can enjoy the most beautiful sunsets in the world. We look forward to welcoming you home. For more information, please visit www.tbr.travel.
Welcome home.
Afternoon, everyone. Happy Sunday to you all. Nice to be hanging out with you on another Sunday afternoon here for me in Negril, Jamaica. And I hope you all are doing well there, especially in the Northeast South United States. I know you guys are battling a bit of a snowstorm up there, which I don't know, can be fun, but probably not so fun for a lot of people. And maybe you'd much rather be in some warmer climates like Jamaica. But I hope you all are doing well, and I hope you had a great week last week. And we have I think a pretty good agenda for today. I'll throw it up there on the screen. I'm trying to make this more of a practice of doing this every week so everybody kind of knows what is coming up on the stream. So today we are going to be going through a few articles as usual, starting off with the Crime Reduction Plan, and then falling under that, there has been another, what would I say, bombshell investigation with fraud. But these are, what would I say, these are these white collar crimes that we're kind of seeing a pattern of investigation, long form investigation, and then it's coming to light, so to speak. And I just kind of want to speak to that. And I think this is really, really great for Jamaica. And this is, to me, I look at this as like we're going through like a great transformation with crime, but not just the most violent ones. We're talking about like right up and down the spectrum, and you're seeing a trend here. I want to talk a little bit about the Jamaica Fire Brigade, especially with a big fire that we had here in Negril, and want to even take the opportunity to big up the Negril Fire Department. They did an amazing job, but we'll get into that. And always want to keep Hurricane Melissa at the forefront and just continue to talk about it every week, and any updates that come with that. I want to talk about it, even if it's just 1 or 2 articles. And then talking about, and I don't think people realize this, that maybe if you do, maybe if you have shipped something lately, you do realize this, that the shipping situation in Jamaica is getting to a breaking point. And I kind of known this for the last couple of weeks, and hearing from people on the consumer side, but then also on the commercial side, the shipping side of things. And want to talk a little bit about that today. And then I'm looking at these 7 items, like each one of these could be its own podcast. And I know I jinx myself all the time when I say this and when I do this, but we have to be a short live stream today, and we'll see. We got to keep it around an hour, but I say that to say we're more than likely not going to get to all 7 of these items. And like, I don't want to rush through them. They all deserve their allotted time, and I hate to rush through it, but we'll see what we can do about getting to them. Let's see. The top 3, we will do crime reduction. We can just quickly touch on the fire brigade. We don't have to go through the full article. We'll quickly touch on that. definitely Hurricane Melissa, and then we got to touch on the real estate stuff. And I know that's a long discussion, and it'll probably continue into next week, and that's really talking about home ownership in Jamaica, and people, especially young people, young professionals, feeling as if that is slipping away, and that's what that article is about. So, being that we are on a short timeline today, let's just hop into it. Still, I would say in the comment section what city, what state, what country that you are from. I think this is very important. It really keeps us together here and kind of builds out our network and our community here and makes it even stronger. So I'm not going to go through it today, but know that I'm reading and glancing at the comments and learning about where everybody's from because we want to get into these articles. Okay. So to start with, lost my place. Got too many tabs open here. All right. So to start with, we're going to go into the crime reduction plan and just bringing everybody up to date with what's happening with that. I think it's always important to speak about this, not because I always want to speak about it, because this has always been, especially since I started this platform, one of the hurdles, if you will, excuses sometimes that people will use as a reason not to invest in Jamaica, not to move here. And legit, there is and was merit to that. And as I always said before, especially when I first started doing this, if you feel or believe that violent crimes, or the rate of violent crimes that happen in Jamaica, is going to continue to rise and be a long-term problem in Jamaica, then I understand that why you wouldn't want to invest here, and I get that. And now we're seeing a big difference, especially last year, and then even now this year. And we're moving, and I've always believed that was going to be a short-term challenge, and especially when you were looking at the amount of money being invested into our crime fighting capabilities. So that being said, let's hop into the first article, and that'll kind of set the canvas, if you will, for subsequent topics that we're going to be speaking about. Okay, this is the first one here, and it's not too long, and I will share it as well in the comment section. So if you want to read it for yourself or you want to share the article, you can go ahead and do that. So the title of this article is Jamaica Reaping Benefits of $90 million Crime Plan. And it was written by Ainsworth Morris, and this came out January 23rd, 2026. The full story. Prime Minister Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness says that the sustained reduction in crime in the country, particularly murders, is not by accident, but through implementation of a strategic plan backed by significant investment. We've established Plan Secure Jamaica, backed with a $90 million budget, investing in our security forces, and we're now reaping our results, he said. Prime Minister Andrew Holness was addressing the Jamaica Stock Exchange, JSE, 21st Regional Investment and Capital Markets Conference on Tuesday, January 20th at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in New Kingston, where he highlighted major gains made in crime fighting, including achieving a 31-year low in murders in 2025. The momentum has continued in 2026. In 2025, Jamaica recorded a 42% reduction in homicides compared to 2024. In 2023, we had an 8% reduction. And in 2024, we had a 19% reduction. As of today, we are 50% below last year this time, he highlighted, which I just want to pause and say, like, that itself is like incredible. We did incredible last year, and we're piling on top, if you will, on last year and cutting it in half again. And that is, I think, a phenomenal trend and trajectory to be on. And I think this is something that we all should be incredibly proud of. Again, I always think back to like so many people being incredibly critical of the content that I was creating and being critical of Jamaica and saying, they'll never invest in Jamaica. They'll never come back. Nobody should be doing this. And it's all mostly Jamaicans living in the Jamaican diaspora, and just really being the harshest, Jamaicans being the most harshest critic of its own, of our own country, and perhaps rightfully so. But again, we are now moving into a different future, and we're going to kind of continue down this path. And like I said, this article is kind of setting the stage for another topic that we're going to be going into. But I just wanted to pause and say, like, we were 50% last year from the year before, and now we're 50% reduced from last year, which is great. Like, let's keep this up. Like, this is really, 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 really good for the country. Dr. Holness said that the government and the police have been clinical, strategic, deliberate, and committed to reducing the ultimate index of violence in the society, which is the murder rate. We're into a fourth year of the plan because all of this is by plan. It's not by accident, he emphasized. Prime Minister Holness said the reducing crime not only enhances public safety, but boosts confidence in the economy, creating more opportunities for business and investment. He noted that crime is a cost to our country. Businesses will have to pay more for security. Homeowners will have to pay more for security, which reduces the productivity, reduces your enjoyment and pursuit of happiness. Most of all, it destroys the brand that keeps people coming here, the brand of Jamaica, he said. Dr. Holness reiterated government's efforts to ensure public safety with intensified efforts to confront organized criminal enterprises that use violence for economic and social control. They are involved in drugs, guns, human trafficking, cybercrime, and other illegal activities. They use violence to make money and to control communities. When criminal groups are allowed to grow, they threaten the authority of the state. That is what Jamaica was facing. These groups were challenging the state and putting law-abiding citizens at risk. This is a serious national security threat. I am focused on addressing it directly. My responsibility is to protect our people, secure our communities, and uphold the rule of law across Jamaica, the Prime Minister said. He warned these involved in a crime and persons who support their illicit activities that they will be pursued and dealt with. That's definitely warned. Sorry. We will provide you with the opportunities. We will seek to ensure that you are properly integrated in the society, but there will be firm consequences for you if you decide to pursue a life of crime and depriving everybody else of their safety, Dr. Holness said. We want you to become business owners. We want you to become entrepreneurs, because much of the efforts they put into crime, if they were to put into business, there would be success, he concluded. And that is the first article. And I think this is great. And we have to big up the JCF. I think they're doing a really, really great job, especially on, I say, like, obviously, like, on the action side. You kind of hear more of that in the news, in terms of, like, when they're doing these tactical engagements, let's say. But also, what I would say, what I am most impressed with, is really on the intelligence side and the cybercrime. Like, it's really, really phenomenal and fascinating. And I always say this: years ago, few short years ago, I used to truly believe that the criminals were just so far ahead of the JCF in information and in technology, and just they were just a step ahead always. And that script has flipped tremendously. It almost feels as if it was overnight, where it's I don't want to jump the gun here, no pun intended, but it's almost as if the criminals feel as if that things were the way that they always were. You know what if you get what I'm saying? And that they think that they could get away with things that you used to be able to, and they don't realize that Jamaica has already transitioned on the crime fighting stage side of things, right? And so they're getting caught with the same ways of getting over on people in one way or another, because the JCF and the other government organizations are just much further ahead. And it was because of these these investments in um in just crime fighting and training and intelligence, all of these things. All right, so let's get to the second article, and I'm going to. Oh no, this is not. I thought this was a longer article. All right, we're gonna get into. Oh no, it's not letting me access the full article. They want me to pay. I'm not gonna pay. Hold on, let me see if I could find it without paying. 1 second. I have another one, but I have another article on this, but it's just not as this one looked like it was a lot more comprehensive, but I might just have to live with the one that we got and everybody will will have to be okay with that. I think that's just kind of what it is. Yeah, I'm not finding it. Mm-mm. All right, let's just go with the one I have. Oh wait, maybe I do have one. Okay, so yeah, okay, sorry, I'm all over the place. Let's get this up. All right, so I know how many people heard of this one. Saw this article. 1 second. I threw it in the comment section there. You guys can click on it if you want to read it for yourself. Update: medical doctor among 3 charged in fraud probe involving hundreds of millions of dollars. Mocha. I think this one might be a little bit more comprehensive. All right, we'll read this one and then we'll skim through the next one. This came out Saturday, January. Okay, the second one might have more updates, more up to date information. This came out Saturday, January 24th. And who's the author of this article? I want to give them credit. I'm not seeing it. Sorry, not seeing it. All right, let's roll. All right, a 30-year-old medical doctor is among three people charged with allegedly defrauding hundreds of millions of dollars from several financial institutions. The major organized crime and anti-corruption agency MOCA says. MOCA has charged Cole Dute, I think that's how you say her name, Dute, a medical doctor from Cherry Gardens in St. Andrew, with uttering forged documents, demanding property on forged documents, conspiracy to defraud, and failure to safely store a firearm. It said the other 2 were charged by the Financial Investigation Unit, FID. They are 29-year-old Ivana Campbell, an executive assistant of Cedar Grove, Portmore, and 44-year-old Dwayne Pitter, an unemployed man of Olympic Gardens in St. Andrew. Campbell and Pitter have been charged with breaches of the Proceeds of Crime Act, the Larceny Act, the Forgery Act, and the Law Reform Fraudulent Transactions Special Provisions Act, as well as conspiracy to defraud at common law. MOCA announced the arrest on Wednesday. It said then that Pitter, was arrested at his home on January 14th, while the women were arrested in Montego Bay and Portmore January 14th and 16th, respectively. In its statement Saturday, MOCA said that the charges follow coordinated operations carried out between January 13th and 16th by MOCA and the FID, with support of the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, as well as the Montego Bay and Ferry Police, MOCA said. Investigators alleged that the 3 were involved in an elaborate and highly sophisticated fraud scheme carried out between January 2023 and April 2024. MOCA alleges that suspects used fraudulently obtained genuine documents along with forged identification to assume the identities of multiple individuals in order to bypass security and identity verification measures at a number of financial institutions. According to Major Basil Jarrett, Director of Communications at MOCA, the charges represent a major breakthrough in a very unique fraud case that has been under investigation for more than 18 months. This is one of the most elaborate, complex, and brazen fraud schemes we have seen to date. The suspects relied on unprecedented levels of identity manipulation to defeat institutional safeguards and defraud legitimate financial institutions of hundreds of millions of dollars, Jarrett said. He added that the development underscores MOCA's capacity to pursue complex financial crimes and thanked the FID, CTOC, and the Montego Bay and Ferry Police for their support. Kind of crazy, right? let's skim through. Man, there's so many ads on this. Let's skim through this one. This is a more up-to-date article on the same thing. Let's see if we find any more new information. This one came out. It came out today. Ford bombshell, missing medical doctor. 2 others charged. All right, so we already got through this. The people who were charged, news release from Mocha said that it's charged Dr. Duet, with uttering forged documents. We went through that. While Mocha did not give a definitive figure on the alleged fraud, Jamaica Observer sources with knowledge of the probe says it could amount to as much as $600 million. Wow. Our sources also say that Dr. Duet was thought to be missing. It was not known to the person or persons who made a social media post that she was already in police custody. In its release on Saturday, Mocha said the 3 suspects who were nabbed following a series of coordinated operations across several parishes between January 13th and 16th are alleged to have carried out an elaborate and highly sophisticated multi-million-dollar fraud scheme between January 2023 and 24. We read through that. The 3 allegedly assumed the identities of multiple individuals with varying occupations to bypass security protocols. Already went through that. And Mr. Jarrett's statement here, we already went through. This is one of the most elaborate, complex, and brazen fraud schemes we have seen to date. The suspects relied on unprecedented levels of identity manipulation. We went through that already. Asked if there were more arrests in the if more arrests in the matter were pending, Jarrett said, "While I don't want to preempt investigative outcomes by speculating as to where next the investigation will lead or who else it involves, it is important to point out that financial crime networks and activities of this nature and magnitude are rarely limited to a single set of actors. And so, notwithstanding these arrests and charges, the investigation continues and remains dynamic and fluid. What I can certainly tell you is that Mocha will act decisively against those who evidence suggests are involved." In the release, Jarrett pointed out that Mocha and the FID received assistance from the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch, as well as the Montego Bay and Ferry Police, commending the efforts of the colleagues. We already went through that as well. Yeah. All right. That's that. So yeah, just another example. And just, remember like last week we went through those senior officials at the airport who were caught with trying to smuggle cocaine at Sanctuary International Airport. And, these, I don't know if that's considered a white collar crime. It's definitely white collar people doing it. So maybe it is, but it just, to me, like seeing these big takedowns, if you will, and same, I think also let's throw SSL in there, even though we have talked about that case extensively and how long it has taken the authorities to bring to justice more people in those cases. I think it really speaks to the bigger picture of these government institutions, crime fighting institutions, building these cases against these individuals and these groups of individuals to take them down. And like the way I look at it is they're building these cases with hard evidence to try to get the allegations to stick and hold them accountable and bring them to justice. And again, this is speaking to both sides of the spectrum, on the violent crime side of things, and then also on the white collar financial fraud side of things, drug smuggling side of things, even though you might consider that to be violent crimes as well. And I think this is all great. It's going to help with the productivity of Jamaica and, to take down these syndicates and to really the outside world, and hopefully even us who are here and who are thinking about investing in Jamaica, they see that as like, man, the government is taking this stuff seriously. And this is an economy and this is a society where they are really going after running it under the umbrella. We are a country of law and order, and we expect everybody who's going to do business here, move here, that they're going to conduct themselves according to the book of law. And I think that this is awesome. It's something that I continue to be proud of. But like again, look at the trend. Look at the trend of these big cases, these big financial fraud cases of the government going after these people. And I'm sure there is more to come. I mean, of course, there are situations right now as we speak, as we're on this live stream, that are being investigated right now. And there are probably, as Mr. Jarrett was alluding to, there are probably quite a few more people. No, maybe not quite a few. There are probably more people involved in this situation. I mean, $600 million. That's a lot of money, and I think it's, at least when I saw it, I think it's shocking that this young doctor is doing this. And I'm just like, what? That is crazy. That is like really, really, really crazy that you've gone to medical school. I would assume that you have a pretty good career making, I would say, probably better money than most people in being a medical doctor. But obviously, she wanted more, unfortunately. And she's going to be paying the price severely. I'm sure her license is done. All those countless hours of studying and exams and yada yada yada, like all of that is out the window. Of course, this is all alleged. This is all alleged. Let me state that and restate that. Don't want to get sued here, but nonetheless, it speaks to the mentality of this young lady, and it's just kind of sad to see that somebody of that you would think she's 30. I think she's 30 years old. The article said, with an incredibly bright future ahead of her, has thrown this all away to make a few extra dollars. And I mean, quite a few extra dollars. Let's not undermine it in any way. But it's like, man, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, you have a great a great life ahead of you. Like, what do you like? That's crazy. This is not like a poor person without options trying to come up. Not that there's an excuse for that by any means, but it's like greed, man, greed. I was gonna say American greed, but there's obviously Jamaican greed as well, and people just wanting more and more and more. It's crazy. I don't want to go on any more tangents outside of that. But let's hop to the comments real quick, and then we'll get to the next article. Everyone, Graham says teeth a teeth. That's true. Mama Pineapple says, shaking my head, greed. That's exactly what it it comes down to at the end of the day. Also saying, yes, obviously advanced technology, talking about Jamaica's crime fighting units that they have. And I think it's just awesome that all of these institutions are working so well together for the greater good of Jamaica, if you will. And it's almost like, and this is the way it should be, like, it doesn't matter what your position is, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what your rank is within an organization. And I think we're starting to see that. And this is sending, hopefully a very, very strong message to people out there who's even thinking about doing financial crime or financial fraud, or defrauding people, is that they're coming after you. They're coming after you, and nobody will be spared. And I think this is a great day for Jamaica, and it's a great thing for all of us out there, all, like, who are trying to be part of building Jamaica and getting Jamaica to get to its full potential. And this is exciting as I'm excited for this type of stuff. But as much as I'm excited on the other side of the investing side of opportunities that are being created in Jamaica, like, they all go hand in hand. One is pushing the other, and I'm glad both sides of the equation are moving forward. All right, let's go through a few more comments here. Hello from Mandeville. Thanks for chiming in. James 80s hair says, happy Sunday. Hope you are well. Will you be at the Chinese New Year celebration next month? I think you're talking about the Pinnacle Chinese New Year. Maybe if I get invited, sure, I will go. I heard about it. Jay Fitz, clearly to subscribe to the school of thought. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Well said. And it's also like, I hope that
when for the folks who are following the rules and for the folks who are trying to make it out there legitimately and doing the right things the right way, I hope this empowers you. I hope this is just like more of a mindset that we know crime doesn't pay at the end of the day, and we just got to keep trucking along, and we got to be patient. I think that it continues to be great opportunity in Jamaica, and we don't need to cheat. We don't need to cheat to win. We do not need to cheat to win. And these folks are suffering the consequences of that, And like I said, I keep saying it. I think this is a really good thing for Jamaica in a big way. James Williams says the IG reel was mad funny. Oh, yeah, talking about me getting swept by my brother. I meant to put that up for you guys, but I don't have it up right now. Hold on, let me get it. And I'll share it real quick, and you guys can watch it. But it's on my YouTube Shorts if you guys want to check that. That was fun. Quick tangent. We do me and my brothers do we do Muay Thai. Try to do a couple times a week. I'm only doing it once a week, but we do it every Saturday. And hold on, I hope it doesn't start. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, we do it every Saturday. We do sparring, and if you are ever considered doing like martial arts or Muay Thai and you come to Negril, great gym, and very, very welcoming. We had 2 guests that wanted to check it out. We brought them along with us yesterday, and they had a great time. I think Negril Muay Thai is just a great, amazing, amazing asset to have in Negril. And when we were leaving, they had the kids classes, so parents were dropping their kids off for Muay Thai training, and just amazing. And I love businesses like this coming to Negril, and even though they've been around for a few years, I would love to have more stuff like this, especially for the kids. This is great for adults, but like to have the Saturday classes for the kids is just great. Just having these opportunities of having these different routines built into your weekly schedule, and then also expanding the horizons of young people. And so again, if you're in Negril and you want to come to do some training, any age, any size, any gender, any skill set, it doesn't matter. Like Muay Thai is like a very welcoming community, and Julian does a really, really phenomenal job up there. He's the coach up there. So yeah, come on by. Check out the reel if you want. Did I put it in? Oh, check out the short there I put in the comments if you want to have a good laugh. Nicole says, "Greetings, stoppers, from the polar vortex of Toronto." Yeah, I heard. Wow. You guys are getting slammed up there. You guys are getting slammed. Sorry to hear. All right, let's get to our next article. Let me pull up for those who are just joining. This is the agenda that we're rolling with, and we're going to hop over to the Jamaica Fire Brigade. We're going to skim through this. We're going to skim. Oh, no, this is quite a short one. I guess we could read it real quick. We're going to hop into this is the next article that we're on right now. All right. Move on. So, all right, let me read this last couple comments, and then we'll move on to the next person. I got to come see in person. Looks like fun and discipline. Yeah, definitely. I would recommend that. The Muay Thai. Zai SP, for Jamaica to rise, there must be accountability against corruption. Absolutely. And I think we're seeing that. I think we're seeing that more and more, like across the board. And we want that. I feel like everybody wants that. Every law-abiding citizen wants that. Everybody wants to feel as if and know as if they're living in a society where if you do the right things, you will prosper, and that you don't need to cheat, or you don't need to do this, and you don't need to do that. And like you said, we want high levels of accountability, especially when it comes to our leadership, our private sector, our public sector. Stella says Jamaicans are not seriously, they don't understand accountability. Look at what happened to Cuba. USA blocked oil. Jamaica don't release that they can happen to use backup plans. Jamaica don't understand money comes from production. Until Jamaicans add tangible value that can be sold to other nations, nothing improves. The fake leader borrows. I'm not sure the context, but I will agree with you on one element of your statement is in regards to production, and we need more of that. We this is something that we really need to focus on, and this needs to become part of our day-to-day vernacular and conversations that we have, is talking about like how we can become a more productive society and make our individual citizens more productive individuals. So thank you for those comments. Let's hop into the article. JFB reports increase in emergency calls. This was written by Shayna K. Salmon. This came out January 24th, 2026. The full story. Jamaica Fire Brigade, JFB, has reported an increase in the number of emergency calls received in 2025. We would have responded to well over 20,000 emergency incidences, 21,699 to be exact. And this is a 13.7% increase over the previous year. Commissioner Starwart Beckford said during an interview with JIS, he noticed the increase was driven mainly by rise in bushfires and special services responses, which include non-fire emergencies such as flooding and rescue operations. Commissioner Beckford pointed out that the increase in special services call is linked to the passage of Hurricane Melissa, which affected the island on October 28th. He further informed that the total number of emergency calls responded to in 2025, 11,048, were genuine fire calls, while 1,787 were malicious false alarms. Commissioner Beckford said that their genuine calls, there was a 13% increase over the previous year, where we had 9,775. Of the total number of genuine calls, 1,555 were structural fires, 5,710 were bushfires, 457 were motor vehicle fires, 2,340 were fires related to rubbish/dumps, 805 were related to electrical equipment. Farm cultivated land accounted for 168, while another 13 were categorized as others. So I'm bringing this up is because we talked about last week, we talked about the fire at Burcom. So I want to bring up this map so we can see where we are. Why can't I go over? All right, let me bring up the map here. All right, so this is Jamaica, and we are on the westernmost part of Jamaica here in Negril. And my mouse decided to stop working. And we're going to go to... All right, so here is downtown Negril. This is the Negril Roundabout, which work on the Negril Roundabout has recommenced. It started again, and that's great. It's great. So that's moving along. I'm very happy and proud to report, finally. And so let's go a little bit north of the beach, and let's go to Travelers Beach Resort, which is here. This is my family's hotel on the beach. So this is the 7 Mile Beach to the left of your screen. And this is Norman Manley Boulevard. And this is Burcom Hardware. And so Burcom is I'll tell you, I'm going to be truthful. Like when I first heard that there was a hardware going to be on the strip here, I was like, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. Do we want that sort of thing on the strip? Because like I always think strip should be dedicated to hospitality, accommodations, that sort of thing. And I'm always iffy about having these commercialized structures on the strip. But I eat my words. It has been an amazing asset to the Negril community. I mean, just phenomenal. Really, really, really great business. And especially for us here at Travelers. And if you have ever ran a hotel or run a hotel, you are always going to the hardware store, like regularly. And we were at Burcom every single day. And the reason why I bring up the map, I just want to show you the proximity from Travelers to Burcom. So our maintenance guys very much just go across to the shared user path here, and then they walk down to Burcom, get whatever fittings, pipe, whatever it is that they needed. If we needed to send a truck, we go over there. On top of that, they were very reasonably priced. They weren't the cheapest on every item, so to speak, but very reasonably priced. Also, the customer service, and I don't know why I'm speaking in past tense, but they are, and they are still open. I want to remind everybody they're open right now, and they are, they are very reasonably priced, and they have really good customer service as well. The girls in there are just on it. They know hardware, they know fixtures, and I know this because Hurricane Melissa, when we were doing the rebuilds for our staff, for our team members, we were there every single day. I was going there, picking up materials, talking with them, interacting with them, and they were a godsend during Hurricane Melissa, like just having this additional hardware store. And mind you, we have other hardware stores in the grill. I think we have about, I want to say 5 that I can think off of the top of my head, but proximity plays a big role in hardware. And I'll also say even in supermarkets for hotels. And for us here at Travelers, just huge asset. And again, huge asset to the Negro community, because there's one other hardware. The only other hardware that I know on the strip here is at Boardwalk Village, which is up here. I forget the name of it. Otherwise, okay, here we go. Novus Hardware. I think there's actually 2 hardwares in there, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, there's a hardware store here as well up the beach in the shopping plaza, and then having another one down here has just been great. So anyway, they had a really horrible fire about 2 weeks ago now. A week and a half ago. Let's call it that. And just really, really, really bad. And you could see the flames from, has it been a week? Anyway, you can see the flames from Travelers. You can see it from the beach. And it was crazy and really, really sad that it was happening. And it was also, I would also say it was really scary. So I want to emphasize that. And there's Burcom here. So Burcom was burning down. This building was burning down. And as you can imagine, there was chemicals in there, like thinner, paint, all these things that you would get in the hardware. So like as the fire is burning, you're just hearing these explosions. I was like, what? Like when I first rolled up, I was like, what is that noise? And it was just these like explosions, and you saw the blue flames coming up. And it was just really, really sad to see. And like, there's just like one of these things that you did nothing you can do. How the Jamaica Fire Brigade comes into this conversation and how it relates to is obviously like they saved the day, they put it out. And I don't think I've been or seen experience a fire like that, like firsthand witness sort of thing. And to be there, and then also to hit home like that, but then also to see these firefighters take this thing under control. And I was like, and if you look at the map here, it was so big, you thought like this whole place down here was going to start burning down. And so there were a bunch of guests who were staying at Yoga Dreams Negril, and they all came out because like the fire was so big. You were like, man, it's going to go to the next property and the next property. And so people went in here, banged on doors. Everybody came out, and they were on the sidewalk with their luggage, and just watching this whole situation unfold. And so I went up to, let me bring that back up. All right. So I went up to the fires here. I was across the street at one point, just looking, witnessing, and it was like scary because you were across the street and you could feel the fire. And I was like, and then I was also like, man, is this thing going to explode? Because you're starting to hear these mini explosions that continue to go on. And then you see, so a fire truck came, the initial fire truck that got there, unfortunately, it ran out of I think it was 2 fire trucks. They ran out of water pretty quickly. And then a water truck came out of nowhere, and like that, they started hosing it down. And what was like incredible to me was seeing the firefighters taking axes to get into the building and also to open it up. And then they go inside with the fire hose while this building is burning down. And I was just like, oh, like there's just no way on God's green earth. Like I would be going in there. Like it was just unbelievable. Like you see this stuff in movies, you see this online, firefighters going into burning buildings and that sort of thing. But to like actually physically witness them going in, crazy, like unbelievable. Like me feeling the heat from where I am. And they're again taking access to this building and then going deep inside with the fire hoses and fighting this thing. And it's not like, I guess what I was gonna say, it's not like they were going in there to save somebody, but obviously you don't want it to spread and you want to save the building, of course. And I'm like, this is just such a mind-boggling thing to do, is to, I don't know if they're scared. Like I mean, you got to be a little scared to go into a burning building where you're literally hearing explosions going off inside, and they're fighting this. And there were also multiple women firefighters as well that were very much a part of it and like in the fight. And I was just like, this is insane. I mean, all of like hats off to all of them. Hats off to all of them. I was really, really, really impressed. I was also impressed with the coordination. Fire trucks came from, it was like New York City. Like, New York City, like if there's something goes down, the police, yeah, even hats off to the police, like controlling the traffic and everything. But fire trucks, I would assume they came from Lucy Green Island because they came from the north part. And then like there was probably at least 4 fire trucks that I think that I saw. And man, they real heroes, honestly, like super, super, super kudos to them. And it was just, again, I was just so impressed and amazed at seeing these folks go into this burning building with the fire hoses and with the axes and to take this thing under control. And especially like when we were first witnessing it, you were just like, man, they're not going to control, like, how are they going to control this? Because it was just so huge. It was crazy. And they did it. They did it. And I was like, man, this is so impressive. This is amazing. Like I was really, really, really proud of Jamaica, really, really proud of Jamaica Fire Brigade. And, that we had the resources to fight this thing. Nobody, as far as I know, nobody lost their, no, I know nobody lost their life. I don't think anybody got injured in this fire. So, I mean, just awesome. And to know that we have a firefighting force here in the Grill that can handle a fire of that magnitude, is awesome. So shout outs to the Jamaica Fire Brigade, shout outs to the Negril firefighters and the Negril Fire Station. You guys did an amazing job. Hats off to you guys. Awesome stuff. So just wanted to take a moment to recognize them with that. All right, next topic. We're at 52 minutes. Like I said, we're going to be bouncing at around the 1 hour mark. So we are kind of making good time. I think we're going to have to skip a few of these. We're probably going to do this one, the Hurricane Melissa, number 4, cash support for our Hurricane Melissa victims. And then we're probably going to hop down to home ownership. And we're going to have to leave the others for another time. All right. All right. Let's see. Let me see if I could find this article. Oh, this is a long one. All right. We're going to skim through this one because I do want to get to the home ownership one. Oh, man. Justin, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Buy her a drink for me. Keep the change. Thank you. We will. And I'll just say we're doing something for them here, travelers. So I'm going to see, my brother's organizing it and they deserve the recognition, and we were my brother's like, man, we have to do something for them. Cause it was crazy to witness. Trust me, to see how they did this thing. It was crazy. I'm like, man, they don't get enough recognition for what they do. And, it's like, hey, another Tuesday for them or whatever it was. All right, let's hop to the next article. Thanks again, Justin. I appreciate you. Government working with partners to deliver cash support to households impacted by Hurricane Melissa. This came out January 15th, 2026. And it was written by, this is JAS News. Okay. I think that's what it says. No, that's a quote. This, I don't know who this was written by. Doesn't say. All right, let's roll. As the government transitions its post-disaster response to cash-based assistance model, it will continue to collaborate with key international partners to provide support to citizens recovering from the impacts of Hurricane Melissa. We are now transitioning to the more cash-based assistance because recovery is not only about receiving food, but also about giving the families the dignity and flexibility to meet their immediate needs as they work to restore normal life. Minister of Labor and Social Security, Colonel Charles Jr. said. He was speaking during a post-cabinet press briefing held at the Jamaica House in St. Andrew on Wednesday. The minister stated that the government continues to work with World Food Program, WFP, and the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, to deliver cash support. The World Food Program has a food assistance cash support and national delivery initiative, and they have been strong partners way before Hurricane Melissa pointed out. Okay, I'm going to skim through this and just go through some highlights. Their goal is to meet the needs of 16,000 households, up to 50,000 individuals, with each household getting 2 cycles of $34,000 grant to them. And that's a big support that we do appreciate, and we want to acknowledge them for that, the minister stated. He pointed out that the WFP uses the ministry's assessment list to determine the beneficiaries who will benefit. They target the senior citizens, persons with disabilities, and of course, families that are in need. The support being delivered through established payment infrastructure, including one of the national agent networks that we have, one of the remittance agents the minister detailed. I'll just read the last paragraph. UNICEF is working with the Jamaican Council for Persons with Disability with a digital voucher mechanism embedded in our I Am Able JCPD app, he informed JS. All right. I'm going to give you all that to read. I'm sorry to skim through that so quickly, but we are on a tight timeline, but always want to talk about Melissa and things that are happening in the rebuilding process with Melissa as consistently as we possibly can. All right. So the last article I want to talk about, I know this one's probably going to keep me here right now, but I think it's important, especially given what this platform is about, which is for sure investing, moving forward Jamaica, right? Hold on. Let's do a reset there. There we go. I'm going to throw the article. Hold on. Which article is this? Okay, this is the home ownership article I'm putting there so you all can read it. We're going to read through it. We'll spend 15 minutes on this, and then I got to roll. All right, there's the article here up on your screen. The Gleaner, why homeownership is slipping further out of reach for Jamaicans. This came out January 23rd, 2026. All right, so this, I think it reads that. Okay, yeah, we do read that caption later. Okay, Jamaica's housing affordability gap has widened further in 2025 as rising construction costs, climate-related shocks, higher insurance premiums, and constrained lending continue to outpace wage growth, tightening access to home ownership for low and middle income households across the island. While national economic indicators point to stability and post-disaster recovery driven growth, the lived reality for many Jamaicans is moving in the opposite direction. Housing costs, whether to buy, build, repair, or rent, are increasing faster than earnings, reshaping who can realistically imagine owning a home in Jamaica. Economic recovery, uneven outcomes. Prior to the recent hurricane season, Jamaica's macroeconomic outlook showed steady growth supported by construction, services, agriculture, and trade. Employment levels remained broadly stable, and several infrastructure projects were already underway. Following the hurricanes, overall economic output is expected to rise further, driven largely by reconstruction and recovery activity. Repairing damaged homes, roads, utilities, and public infrastructure requires substantial spending, lifting headline GDP figures in the near to medium term. However, this form of growth reflects replacement rather than new wealth creation. While national output may increase, household finances are under mounting strain. As of June 1st, 2025, the national minimum wage rose to $16,000 per 40-hour work week. While this represents a nominal improvement, real purchasing power continues to be eroded by higher costs for food, transport, utilities, insurance, and housing. For many working households, economic progress at the national level has not translated into greater housing security. Construction costs in a climate-exposed market. Jamaica's housing market is increasingly shaped by climate risk. Recent storms have underscored how exposure to extreme weather translates directly into higher construction and ownership costs. Material price, labor, insurance, professional fees, and compliance requirements have risen. Stricter building standards and resilience measures are no longer optional, but their cost is ultimately reflected in the sale prices and rents. The result is a structural shift. Housing that can withstand future storms is more expensive to deliver, yet housing that cannot is not truly affordable. It simply defers risk and loss to households and communities. A segmented housing market. Today's market effectively divides Jamaicans into three broad groups. Low-income earners remain priced out of most formal housing, even with assistance. Deposit requirements, financing limits, and finishing costs make ownership increasingly unattainable, particularly near employment centers. Middle-income households may access smaller units with co-applicants, but high interest rates and rising living costs leave little financial margin for emergencies or long-term stability. Higher income earners, including those with foreign currency income, remain largely insulated from these pressures. They can absorb price increases and qualify for larger loans, allowing them to operate in a market increasingly detached from local living realities. The imbalance has consequences. When housing supply increasingly serves those least constrained by domestic income, affordability pressures intensify elsewhere in the system. Young professionals and the ownership gap. One of the clearest signals of the stresses among young professionals. Urban rents regularly exceed $80,000 to $100,000 per month, while entry-level home prices sit well beyond a single professional earning between $150,000 to $300,000 monthly can comfortably finance. This is not a failure of aspiration. It reflects a growing mismatch between income structures and the housing being delivered. A country that trains its people but cannot house them is quietly exporting its future, said Dean Jones, founder of Jamaican Homes. When credible pathways to ownership disappear, delays in household formation, increased migration, and long-term workforce instability follow. Supply, but not the right supply. While housing construction continues, the issue is not volume alone. Too few units are designed for low and middle income buyers in locations close to jobs, transport, and services. Many developments rely on pricing models dependent on overseas capital or speculative demand. Foreign investment plays a legitimate role in development finance. The challenge arises when local households become structurally secondary within their own housing market. A home is not financial instrument first, it is a place to live. Informality as a systemic signal. As formal housing becomes inaccessible, informal solutions expand. This is not driven by preference, but by exclusion. Regularization efforts help address outcomes, but they do not resolve the underlying affordability gap that pushes working households outside the formal system. Informality is not a choice, it is a signal. A narrowing window. Jamaica's housing challenge is no longer just an economic issue. It affects social stability, workforce retention, and long-term national resilience. If housing continues to drift further out of alignment with local incomes, the effects will appear quietly. And who stays, who leaves, and who stops believing in the future that can be built here. Housing is not only about structures, it is about belonging, and that question is becoming harder to answer, where agency still exists. Despite the pressures facing Jamaica's housing market, one truth remains. Jamaicans have always found ways to build when the systems fall short. There is power in collective action. There is power in buying together, building together, and planning together. For many households, the future of ownership may no longer lie in the single buyer model. Instead, it may lie in shared acquisition and shared development. 6 friends, siblings, or extended family members pooling resources to purchase half an acre or an acre of land, subdividing responsibly, and building homes incrementally. This is not new. Earlier generations relied on partnering systems and informal saving circles to accumulate capital, purchase land, and invest, both in Jamaica and abroad. Those approaches worked because they spread risk, reduced individual burden, and turned small contributions into tangible assets. Today, similar models could support group land purchases with clear arrangements, cooperative construction of duplexes or semi-detached homes, phase building that allows households to enter ownership earlier, shared professional and infrastructure costs, individual titles once developed, milestones as reached. These approaches are not shortcuts. They require trust, structure, legal clarity, and planning, but they offer something the current market increasingly withholds: a realistic path forward. Affordability will not be solved by waiting. It will be shaped by how people organize, how communities collaborate, and how land is used intentionally rather than speculatively. Housing security does not only come with policy, it also comes with participation. And while the window may be narrowing, it has not yet closed. This article was first published by Jamaican Home News. And who wrote this? This was written by, let's see. I don't know. But I thought there's a lot to digest here. What are you saying? What are you saying is fault here? GFJ Hydian. What are you saying is fault? A lot to digest here. Okay, so where do we start here? Let's go down to. All right, so where I'd like to start is definitely agree, particularly with having workers live closer to where they work. And I think this is just a key component to increasing the quality of life for individuals. And then also, when you think about the microeconomy of a community, and I always bring Negril into the example and into the fold here. And most of the workers in Negril, particularly the hotel workers, live outside of Negril. And what does that do? Let's on the economic side of things. And what does that do, right? Let me take this down. That means that when they go to their communities, say in Sav or Lucy, or even as close as Sheffield, when they go to buy when they go to buy groceries, when they go to the doctor, when they do any type of living outside of work and they're spending money, they're more than likely spending it within close proximity of where they live. And even from a social standpoint, if they're going out to a restaurant, are they going out to have a drink, whatever have you, they're going to probably do it close to where they live because they don't want to necessarily hop in a taxi or get in their car and drive 30, 45 minutes, 20 minutes to Negril when they can walk 10 minutes or drive 10 minutes down the road, right? And so that type of economic activity is taken out of the Negril community. I'm using Negril, but you can use this anywhere in Jamaica, Montego Bay, Kingston, Ochi, doesn't matter. Same thing. And so to me, there's an economic incentive for workers within a region to live in close proximity to where they work. Because I look at it as like, man, if we had more of our workers living here in Negril as opposed to going outside of Negril, it's like, one, as they say, there is a direct correlation to happiness and the length of your commute. Essentially meaning the longer your commute is, the less likely that your happiness goes down, right? So I mean, and it makes sense, right? If you're commuting an hour to work, I know this was a study done in America, but I take New York for example. Like there are people, because of this same challenge, there are people who work in Manhattan and they live in Pennsylvania, and they're doing 2-hour commutes each way. which is crazy to me. That's it, but it speaks to this unaffordableness that is going on, particularly in New York and in America, and seemingly what this article is speaking to on this particular aspect of living in closer proximity to where you work, right? And so I think that this is a challenge that should be faced head on, and it's just something that needs to be just again just part of the regular conversation that we're having and figuring out how we solve this problem, right? But let's go back to another part of the article talking about the construction cost, right? And that is one of the biggest things, right? And it's you're creating this vicious cycle. So they talked about the minimum wage going up $16,000 and the buying power going down. And that's what inflation is, right? And that's what happens, right? So as the minimum wage and it's scheduled to go up, I think either next month or April, very soon it's going to go up again. And that is putting everything up, and I'm not saying it shouldn't go up. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the minimum wage shouldn't go up. I'm not saying that, but there are rippling effects to that. And as the minimum wage goes up, like not even minimum wage, as wage goes up in general, the expectation on the other side of that equation is that the productivity should be going up in a proportional manner, meaning that you shouldn't be paying more for less or paying more to get the same. And it's just like here. If we're going to charge a higher room rate at travelers, your expectation of your experience in coming here to travelers has to be elevated. It has to. You're going to expect to have a better room. You're going to expect to have better service. You're going to expect to have good food. And I think that is fair. That is fair. And so extrapolate that out into other industries, right? And so minimum wage is going up. And what that does is not just say the minimum wage for entry level workers, let's say on a construction site, but that also you have to keep wages in parity, right? And so your supervisor is not going to get paid the same as somebody who's walking on a construction site for the first time. And then also the disparity in their wages can't be nominal, let's say. I won't give a number or even a percentage. And so that parity in some respect has to remain as wages are increased across the board. And what is that going to do? That's going to also increase the cost of labor, and that's going to increase the cost of construction. And that's just labor. Now, construction materials are also going through the roof. As far as I know, in Jamaica, we don't have lumber mills. We don't have steel mills. I don't even know if that's the right word or terminology, but we are importing a large majority of our raw materials that go into creating and building homes. And so it makes sense that these homes are becoming more and more unaffordable. And this, again, as I was alluding to before, this is not unique to Jamaica. But I do feel that Jamaica is as we continue on this forward trajectory of prosperity, we are transitioning as a country in so many ways, in positive ways. And I think we have an opportunity to diverge from going down a path that other nations and other cities around the world have been experiencing, and we can learn from those experiences. And again, I always say, like, I'm not one to blame the government. I'm not one to, on certain aspects, have expectations of the government to solve certain problems. And my mind always goes to, how can we as private citizens be the one to come up and create solutions for these problems? And to me, it's like, if we want to have more affordable housing solutions, there has to be incentives for these developers to build these homes, because they're not going to do it for free. they're not going to do it as a charity and this altruistic mission. I think that's unreasonable for us to consider and to think that they're going to do that. And I know, like, when I talk about these new developments, and a lot of them are high end, a lot of them are middle class, and people always ask, like, what about the affordable housing? And to me, it's like, how do we set up an how do we set up an incentive structure for developers to create these developments that are affordable? And it all goes back to construction, I think, and the construction costs. There's just very little incentive to do that, because your margins are going to be so low, and or maybe not even exist. And so that's kind of speaking to this section of the article talking about segmented housing market. And so let me read that part real quick. And it says today's market effectively divides Jamaicans into three broad groups: low-income earners, middle-income households, and high-income earners, which they're arguing are isolated from the effects of all this. And so, as I always say, and I believe that Jamaica it's moving towards prosperity, but to me, it shouldn't be. If it goes in a direction where only a small percentage of Jamaicans feel the effects of this new Jamaica that I think we're going to be experiencing in a few short years, then it's not worth it. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but that's not a win, right? And this rising tide should lift all ships, not some ships. It should lift all of them. And I think there's an opportunity to do that. I think one way to do that, which a lot of what would I say? I'll say one way to do that, I think a big way to do that, it's at least on this private sector side of things, is creating more housing inventory. And there are elements and opportunities of that nature that are happening here in Negril, right? And so there have been, and this kind of got started with my platform, right? There is this model that is continuing to roll out in Negril of converting hotels, essentially non-performing assets, and turning them into condos. And like my thoughts and feelings on Burkham not having totally agreed with there being a hardware store on the boulevard here, and now I'm on the other side, I think it's a great idea. I felt the same with hotels being converted into condos, and I didn't like the idea. And it was essentially my platform that had created that. A few years ago, we visited Coral Seas on the West End, and a bunch of the ThropX attendees who were on the real estate tour, they came together and they purchased a hotel on the West End, Coral Seas, and they converted it into condos. And since then, there has been a few of those, and more on the pipeline, many more coming down the pipeline, of taking this strategy of taking these hotel rooms and turning them into condos. And the reason why I particularly didn't like that is because basically it comes down to revenue, right? And I look at the tax umbrella, and to me, in my mind, if like we have more businesses that are paying into the tax system, the more money the government can make, and then the more that they can use that money for our infrastructure and services in and out Negril. And just having more businesses in Negril creates more jobs and gets more people to come to visit Jamaica and experience different accommodations. And so I always thought, I don't know if this is the best idea, And I thought we first did it, and it first happened at ThropX 2022, 2023, whatever year it was, I was like, all right, this is one and done. Let's sell let's sell these hotels to hoteliers. But now it's like it's just happening over and over again. It's like last week I introduced Vicky Tini on the beach. They're doing the same thing. That was a hotel. It was it was an operating hotel. I won't call it a non-performing asset. It was an operating hotel that has been recently sold, and instead of opening back up as a hotel, they are converting the hotel rooms into condos. And this is probably the fifth one since Thropex 2022, 2023, whatever it was. And I'm like, man, these things keep rolling. However, I think I'm starting to come around a little bit. And the reason is when it comes to the population of Negril and the people who live here, the people who invest here, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing because it's also increasing the housing inventory in Negril. And I've said this before, like low key, like there is a housing shortage in Jamaica, but definitely in Negril as well. And we don't necessarily want to contribute to the problem. What I mean is like not imagine, like this is the reality that we have of we have only X amount of inventory of housing. Even yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody, and I'm always trying to get people to come to Negril, move to Negril, and particularly the millennial generation, because we are slowly, if not already, we're becoming the large majority of the workforce, of the active workforce of the world. And we're going to eventually become the highest income by generation, that is, highest income earner generation. And that's just the way the cycle goes. At some point, it will be Gen Z. So I always think the more millennials that we can get here, the better. You know, they have the energy, they're in the workforce, they're in the prime of their career, let's say. But the question comes, it's like, where would a millennial live in Negril? Where would a millennial buy a home or go and rent? And yes, there are options, but I would say there are not many options that would meet the standard of a millennial coming from the United States who say has, $100,000 a year paying job, maybe probably a little bit more, that they would meet or exceed their current living standards. Because if you're making that kind of money and you have a good career, you're not going to necessarily, of course, I'm generalizing here, you're not necessarily going to move somewhere to lower your quality of life and to lower the quality of your accommodations. And so I would think maybe you would in turn to get something else. But my assumption is you want to meet or exceed your current living standard. And I think that's a fair assumption. But we don't have options like that in Negril. And we just talked about the cost of construction, right? And to do new builds right now in Negril, whether it's a housing development, whether it's a home, whatever have you, it's going to be very, very expensive. And at some point, we're going to do a whole deep dive on square footage, construction costs by square foot in comparison to other markets. We're definitely going to do that at some point. But it makes more financial sense and also more time sense to do these hotel conversions. It's one of the fastest ways to do that, to get things up and running, to get the economy going, to get more people into the population who are of this caliber, this income caliber, to spend more money in the community. And I guess in a sense, I've been converted. I'm sad to say, not sad, but like you think you know something, but then as time goes along, your opinions shift. And that's kind of what's happening with my mindset as I look at the market. And so I think there's more and more of that. It's continuing, right? Continuing down the line. And there's more of these hotel condo conversions. And I guess it's a good thing, it's a good thing, at least on that side of the coin. You're putting more inventory into the system. And that's a positive thing at the end of the day. That's a positive thing. And the more inventory there is, say for units that are going for between 100, we're talking US dollars here, between 150,000 US dollars and let's go to say $300,000 per unit, that to me frees up the lower cost units. And those people who want to move to Jamaica aren't scooping up the units that are like 60,000 or 70,000 because they're getting more bang for their buck in the 150, 160, $200,000 region. So Yeah, I guess it's a good thing. Okay. Let's get to some comments and we're gonna kind of wrap up here. I gotta get rolling. Donna Price Bryce says, please remember to hit that like button, folks. Helps Throp's channel. I'm sure that you want to do that if you find value in these live streams. Thank you so much, Donna. Yes, definitely helps. Eileen, Jamaica's real estate is undervalued. If people are thinking of leaving for our first world country, it's going to be a huge awakening. Houses are way beyond their reach in those countries. Agreed. Like, yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't. There's no way. I think the article is alluding to more of a brain drain situation where you will kind of get caught up in the matrix of those countries. So I always like look at New York, right? And if you go to New York and you want to live there, extremely expensive, one of the highest costs of living in the entire world, one of the highest costs to buy a home, and also rents, right? And it's a beautiful life there. It's a beautiful lifestyle if you make a certain amount of money. But in order to make that certain amount of money, I always say you got to be part of the matrix unless you're uberly wealthy, uber wealthy, right? Where you can kind of pop in and out. But you're more than likely going to go into some sort of debt. You're more than likely going to have to work a job unless you have like a business and you're an entrepreneur. But nonetheless, you're going to be working a ton, and you cannot come off that hamster wheel. You cannot come off that hamster wheel because you have to continuously make this income to pay your rent, to pay your mortgage, to buy this home, as you're saying, Eileen. And you're trapped in it. You're trapped in it. And I'm not saying trapped it's like a bad way. In a bad way, it's just you're part of that matrix. It's like there is a matrix down here in Jamaica as well. I just believe the matrix here is a little bit more airy, and it's a little bit more freedom down here. So I'm not trying to talk bad on the lifestyle up there or anything like that, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And yes, I it's very people are there are very few people who are in a bucket that can go that are leaving Jamaica because they can't afford a home here and have the money and have the resources to go to America and just buy a home there. Not saying it's impossible, but very few people can do that. I think it's more of a situation like, oh, I can't get a job here, or the job that I have here is not paying me X amount of dollars, so I'm going to go to the United States, get a job there, and then go into their matrix and go into that lifestyle. But there's a freedom cost to that, to move to that. But maybe, and I'm not blaming anybody for doing this, but maybe that is a better life for some people because they can't see or feel as if they have a future where there's an opportunity for them to own a home down here in Jamaica. But I would like to move away from that, and if you feel you need to do that and you feel that you don't have the opportunity down here, I can't blame you for that. You got to do what you got to do, but I would like to hope that there is a future where that is not the situation, that we keep the majority of our talent down here. All right, let's keep rolling here. Undervalued if income compatible with expenses. Okay. I also want to hit another point that you made there, Eileen, is on the undervalued. Yes, the land here is undervalued, especially beachfront land. I always say that. If you look at other Caribbean islands, we are definitely undervalued. And I know people say that it's very expensive here. Yes, there are pockets in Jamaica that you will be paying a premium for without question, but on a whole, Jamaica's land is undervalued when you compare to our Caribbean counterparts. Um, KRP, we'll call you that. My only issue with that is that what will happen to the persons here? Yes, it's nice to attract persons who are from overseas that make a lot, but what about the persons who are here can't even get a good paying job? Real estate is already so expensive for locals. No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you, KRP. I'm definitely agreeing with you. That's we're on the same page with that. We're definitely on the same page with that. I don't have the answer to it, and I think it's important to have discussions of this nature and to address it and just like not try to sweep it under the carpet And I don't have the answer, but it's a real thing, and especially there are, of course there are, we've talked about there's like some exceptionality in particularly young people are more a higher percentage of young people than in the past who are who are buying homes and have a higher income. And I do believe that that is true. I do believe that that is true, but and I always say, like, we're even seeing it in our guest demographics here, is that there are a lot more younger Jamaicans coming to Negril, and it's not just my observation here at Travelers. It's other hoteliers that I've spoken with, that are able to afford to stay in our hotels and to come here from other parts of Jamaica, that are coming to Negril and they come into our hotels and they're spending money and they're enjoying vacations and staycations, et cetera, et cetera. And so we are seeing that difference. So it's not across the board, is what I'm trying to say. Jay Fitz, there's a ripple effect in increasing wages. However, there's also a ripple effect when wages are not living wages. Burglary, robberies, fraud schemes. Yes, yes, yes. I see what you're saying. It's incentivizing everything that you just laid out here. So this is a problem in a great sense. It definitely is a problem in a great sense. And like I say, as Jamaica moves forward and as Jamaica progresses, we want all ships to rise with this rising tide. And hopefully that there is a system of construction that is more affordable, or there is some sort of government incentive to the developers to develop these houses at scale that will become more affordable for more people, and that we also, especially for the young people, that they feel empowered and they feel confident in the future of Jamaica, that one day I will own a home, or they're renting a place that they're proud of, for their younger years, and that they see a future in which they eventually will become a homeowner. But I think we're gonna wrap up there. I got to get rolling. I wanted to get out of here like an hour ago, but here we are. So it goes. Want to thank everybody for hanging out here today. We're gonna be. I got a crazy week ahead. Like, oh, it's crazy, crazy, crazy. Lots of productions coming up this week. We are working on some really, really amazing content for you all, and I can't wait to share it with you. It's going to really start rolling by mid-February. That's the plan, at least. But got a lot of great podcasts, a lot of great discussions, a lot of great value, from building dream homes to buying, as we talk about buying homes here in Jamaica. And I'm excited for it all for you guys, and I can't wait to share it with you all. All right, wishing you all a great week ahead, and I will see you next week. Hopefully same time, but definitely not the same place. Peace, everybody. I meant to end the stream right there.